Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News Digital Desk. In a few moments, we're going to be bringing to you the NTSB media briefing following the cargo ship crash into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, which led to the collapse of that bridge. We do have our local news live affiliate live on scene there. We're going to be getting to them in just a moment, hopefully when they are able to speak. Well, before we do, I want to show the video of that collapse. This is something that many people have seen. What you're looking at right there on the left-hand side, that is the cargo ship Dolly, which is from Singapore, was carrying specifically Maersk cargo, and it was headed for Sri Lanka when ultimately this happened. We're going to go live now to our counterparts. I believe they're still, no, not yet. We're going to wait for that in a second. Reason why I pulled that up there while we look at the crash one more time is to show you what it looks like on the scene right now. So take a look at this. Our reporter is in the center of the screen, but look on the left-hand side. That is the bridge that has collapsed there. Now, a very big deal for the entire area. Very big deal for the people of Baltimore. We are waiting to hear more from the NTSB, but what we do know is very limited information. The U.S. Embassy that is based in Singapore has been in touch with the Port Authority. They also say that they have been trying to get in contact with the owners of the cargo and owners of the ship, and that hasn't necessarily been successful at this point. We haven't been able to pin down exactly what was on the ship in its entirety as of right now. According to the local union that represents many of the steel workers in that area, they say that this is going to be a massive issue and a massive problem for the entire Maryland region coming up for the next couple of weeks and months, essentially, because they say, well, this is not necessarily heavily trafficked for the standard person. This is heavily trafficked for cargo. This is heavily trafficked for trucking ships, things like that. A very important port. And now that is closed off. I'm going to show you a map here, actually, while we wait for it. Just to show you exactly where this is, because I think it's important as far as the context goes, to show you what this is, what area this is, and what this connects. Okay, so just going to zoom out there and pull this up for you. That is the bridge right there in the center of your screen, and you can see that it says bridge collapse there. Look at the space that covers there. And the point that's being made here is, while this may not seem like a heavily trafficked area, it's important for commerce. And that is where the issues lie, and that is where the problems are. This is a very big deal for ships. This is a very big deal for trucks, and that area now is going to take weeks, if not months, to repair. Again, I want to pull up for you this live look that we have. Again, the reporter in the center of the cameras with our affiliate Local News Live. If you look on the left-hand side behind his right-hand shoulder, you can see where the status of the bridge is as of right now. Yeah, that's a problem, and that is something that is not going to be a quick fix. Again, I'll show you what it looks like when this actually happened. Again, what you're looking at on the left-hand side of your screen there, that is the cargo ship Dolly running into the ship, and then the collapse of the bridge happening in mere seconds. This very much so a scary scene. We now know that there are many people that have been involved in this. We're waiting to hear more as far as how many. Let's just see if our affiliates are going to start. Yep, they are. Okay, let's get to our affiliates.
A search and rescue mission, as you just said. That means there is hope from law enforcement. That's the message they're sending, that there will be survivors from this incident. You said we're waiting on that NTSB press conference. Their role is really to look into what went wrong leading up to the crash. They're probably not going to provide that kind of information that everyone is kind of dreadfully looking for as to how many people might have been involved. We know that there were several vehicles that were thrown from the bridge, in addition to an 8-person construction team, only which 2 of those members have been found. But yes, to answer your question shortly, there is hope. That whoever may have ended up in the water, there is still hope to get them out alive. That is what the rescue teams here are currently doing. We have local dive teams. We have the Coast Guard actively searching, combing the area with the helicopter. So that's what's happening on the ground here right now. The information that is coming from NTSB might provide more insight as to what happened. Here's what we know right now. what led up to this. We know that the boat lost power as they were approaching the bridge. They were able to send a mayday signal that Maryland Governor Wes Moore said saved a lot of lives. They were able to signal. They lost steering ability ahead of crashing into the bridge, so authorities were able to actually cut traffic off around 1:30 in the morning when this happened, or this could have been an even more tragic occurrence. That about the only good news today, in addition to the two construction crew members who were found in what is just a terrible tragedy involving many layers of local, state, federal government all trying to come together, rebuild this bridge, fix the economic component of this, and try to save as many lives as possible.
Now, you heard the mention there of how many people have been found. We're still waiting to hear, I believe, about 6 that are still being searched for.
Right, and anyone who saw the president earlier today will remember that this is a national port, and that's what Biden was pointing out when he says it's important to rebuild it as soon as possible. He'd like to use entirely federal money. We'll see if he can get Congress to sign off on that, but this is a national port that the ship in question was heading to Sri Lanka. Tens of thousands of people drive across this bridge every day. More than 10 million per year. So it's not just foot traffic, but it is, as you mentioned, that economic factor where you're bringing goods from all sorts of countries, getting them out. This helps the U.S. economy. So obviously, first and foremost is the loss of life, but there's a very real component of the government trying to keep America's economy running here.
Yeah, you heard the mention there. The economic impact, and he said this is a national port, it's an international port. In the meantime, essentially all of the ships that are normally supposed to be going to that area have been moved and diverted to the Virginia area and ports in Virginia. Now, again, this is Baltimore, Maryland, very close to the nation's capital, very close, obviously, to Virginia. So these things are going to be interchangeable. However, it is still a massive port and a massive deal, especially when you consider, again, the location of it. Take a look here. This is where it is. That's where that bridge had collapsed there. If I zoom out even more, this shows you just how expansive this is, because it is a direct route. There it is, heading all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean. Massive port. They're being diverted essentially to ports over in that area as of right now. I want to show you what the press conference looks like right now, what I'm seeing, which is just this NTSB media briefing as we await. It's supposed to start at 2:30. Of course, due to being the federal government, sometimes those things do not happen on the time frame that we want them to happen at. I want to play for you now a little bit from an earlier morning press conference. This just after it happened, broke down exactly what they saw. Some of this information is a little bit outdated, but I think the urgency that you hear is still very relevant.
We got further information through multiple calls that the Key Bridge, portions of the Key Bridge had actually collapsed. At about 01:50 hours, our first unit arrived on scene and reported a complete collapse of the Key Bridge. We were also given information at that time that there were likely multiple people on the bridge at the time of the collapse, and that as a result, multiple people were in the water. We were able to remove 2 people from the water. One individual refused service and refused transport. Essentially, that person was not injured. However, there was another individual that's been transported to a local trauma center that is in very serious condition. At this time, we have multiple air assets from the Maryland State Police, as well as the Baltimore Police Department, as well as multiple Marine assets from around the region, including Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, as well as multiple local and state police agencies, National Resources Police, BPD Special Ops Unit is in here, Maryland State Police is here. We have multiple resources. We are still very much in an active search and...
All right, we're going to cut out of that live now
Chair
to go
Jennifer
live to the
Homendy,
NTSB's
and that's
press conference.
Homendy.
You may be familiar with the woman who's going to be speaking, the chair. She spoke a lot for East Palestine. She now will be breaking down this bridge collapse.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Homendy, and I'm the chair of the National Transportation Safety Board. Normally, our investigator in charge, his name is Marcel Muise, M-U-I-S-E. His first name is M-A-R-C-E-L. Marcel Muse is our investigator in charge for this investigation, but just given on scene today, it's very early. I've asked that he remain at the command post to continue what he is doing so that I can brief you on what we're doing so far. Also with me is one of our newest board members. This is Alvin Brown, and this is his training launch. So the NTSB arrived on scene at 6 a.m. To investigate an accident involving a Singapore registered vessel with the name Dali, D-A-L-I, which made contact with the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland at around 1:30 a.m. this morning. The vessel is 985 feet long. It's a 95,000 gross ton container ship. I've seen information about crew members on board. We still need to verify the numbers of crew on board and their status. Under our Memorandum of Understanding with the Coast Guard, the NTSB is leading this investigation. The Coast Guard will support this investigation. Our Memorandum of Understanding, for example, provides for when an accident involves another mode of transportation and other factors, the NTSB will lead that investigation. Now, I want to thank the U.S. Coast Guard. We have a very cooperative relationship with the U.S. Coast Guard. I particularly want to thank Deputy Commandant for Operations, Vice Admiral Gautier. I want to thank Admiral Gilbreth, who's commander of the 5th Coast Guard District, and Captain O'Connell, who's the sector commander. Before I go on behalf of the NTSB, I want to extend our deepest sympathies to those who have been affected by this significant event. The NTSB, as I mentioned, does many significant transportation events, not just aviation. We do accidents and incidents in marine safety as well, and of course with bridges and other highway infrastructure. And for this, there were many that were affected by this collapse, and our deepest sympathies go out to the families, loved ones, and others who have been affected. I'm going to get questions on fatalities and injuries, which I'm not going to answer. That is not something that the NTSB answers. I will refer you to local authorities on all of that information. What I can tell you is a search and rescue is still underway. So we are very hopeful, and again, our thoughts are with the families and their loved ones. Again, we got here at 6 a.m. And we are standing back to allow the Coast Guard and Search and Rescue to continue their search and rescue operations while we gather information from the command post. There is a lot of information that we can begin to collect. We have a team of 24 on scene, including Member Brown and me. The team of experts include experts in nautical operations, and what they're going to look at and begin to collect is information on vessel operations, safety history, safety record. They'll look at the owner, they'll look at the operator, and they'll look at the operations this day. Today, they will also look at company policy, any sort of safety management system or safety management program will be looked at by them, and our human performance team as well. We have a human performance expert here. We have an engineering team. We have survival factors, and then we have a team here that is getting the recorders. We also have a highway safety team, our team out of the Office of Highway Safety, including structural engineers, bridge experts who will be here and are continuing to come in. We have a few here, and 1 or 2 others are coming in the next few hours. We also have our family assistance team on site, and our family assistance team works with those that were affected by a particular event, families, friends, and other loved ones, and they will help them get in touch with the resources they need while also providing them with the information that they need as we move forward with our investigation. This is a team effort. There are a lot of entities right now in the command post, all focused on search and rescue, as they should be. But I do want to, in particular, thank the Coast Guard, the Maryland Transportation Authority Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Baltimore Fire and Rescue, and the Maryland State Police. I also know that there are others on scene I'm sure I have missed. For example, Army Corps of Engineers is here, a great deal of expertise, and all focused on what is very important, which is the people first. I have been in contact with my counterpart in Singapore. Director Chong is the director of the Transport Safety Investigations Board. The NTSB maintains relationships with our counterparts in other countries often and stay in close communication. So the director and I have been in communication many times before on safety, so it was a good conversation. He is sending some personnel here tomorrow. Also, personnel will be arriving from the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore, who has the focus of being the regulator in Singapore. Now, it's not a lot of information that I can share at this time, and I know there's a lot of information that seems to be circulating. The NTSB doesn't speculate. We provide facts. And so there isn't a lot we can share right now because the focus has been on the people. However, if you know me, I like to provide information as we can when we're able to verify those facts and be open about that. Transparency is one of our mandates, one of our core values. So please monitor ntsb.gov and X, where we will post when we were having another media briefing. We do have an organizational meeting tonight at 5 o'clock, which I mentioned, to determine where we want to go next on the investigation. But there's a lot of information we need to gather between now and then in the days and weeks that follow. So with that, I am going to take questions. I will call on you. Please state your name and your affiliation. We'll start with Tom and then go over here.
Thank you, Chair Halmondy. Tom Costello with NBC News. You spoke of one of the teams within this NTSB structure looking for specifically the reporters on board the ship. Can you speak to what type of reporters may be on board the ship, and what do you hope that what information might they provide?
Yeah, at this time, I will have more information about the recorders tomorrow. We chose not to board the vessel today to allow some time for the search and recovery, which we did not want to interfere with. That is the first and foremost. We do have some information, but we need to verify that information first before I provide that information, before I verify it. So we'll have that information tomorrow, or maybe later tonight if you want to check with me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sabina with ABC News. How long will the search go on for today?
The search is, it's a question on how long the search will go on today. The NTSB is not in charge of the search and rescue operation. That is the U.S. Coast Guard, so I would refer you to the Coast Guard for that information. Yep.
Hi there, Nicole Skangas, CBS News. Were the tugs pulled loose before the ship lost control, and can you give us a rough timeline of when they were pulled loose? And also curious just what you can tell us about the timeline, how much time lapsed between the pilot notifying authorities and the actual crash.
Yeah, there's a question on the tugs and the timeline. Again, I know this is all information you're looking for. The information we get, which often happens in a large event where there are a lot of entities, is there is conflicting information. The NTSB focuses on the facts, so we will figure that out and be able to provide that information in the coming days. Today is far too early for that.
Anything on the timeline?
Nothing on the timeline so far.
How critical will a voyage data recorder be to investigating?
How critical will a voyage data recorder be to investigating this? It will be critical. It's a critical piece of our investigation, which is why we have a recorders team here.
Have you been able to investigate or figure out why this ship did not immediately drop anchor when the power went out and they were on course to collide with this bridge?
Again, that will be, the question is on dropping anchor and whether they did or did not, and the timing on that. Again, that'll be part of our investigation and part of our timeline. I can provide you more information on that in the coming days, but not today.
Rena Bardwaj, ANI. Just wanted to check, do you have any information on the crew that was on board, their nationality? Were there 22 Indians on board? Apparently there's a report that says there were 22 Indians who were on board.
The question is who was on board the vessel and nationalities. I've heard conflicting information on that as well. We will have to get back to you on that.
Ma'am,
Yes.
do you have any reason to believe there were major deficiencies with the vessel before it set sail? What are you learning from previous inspections?
The question is, were there any deficiencies on the vessel before it sailed, and will we be looking at any safety information? That is part of our investigation, where we look at in depth at safety information, anything that may have occurred prior to this, any sort of safety history with respect to the vessel, any sort of maintenance that was done to a vessel or the vessel or component on the ship. We will look at all of that, but it's much too early for all of that.
You spoke about the government assets that are here. Can you talk about the private sector folks that you're working with? Are there folks from Maersk? Are there folks from the insurance companies that you're in contact with now who are on the scene today?
The question is, who are we working with from the private sector folks? I mean, certainly we're working with the owner-operators, which are two different entities for this vessel. We will be working with the pilot association, and we will have a number of federal, state, and local partners as party to the investigation. We are going to designate those tonight at the organizational briefing, and I'll have more information on that tomorrow.
For you.
Sure.
Given obviously the search and rescue effort is the main focus right now, handled by the U.S. Coast Guard, but the Key Bridge being such a major thoroughfare for the city and for our commerce, for our entire country, not to mention the waterways being shut down, is there any sense of urgency to get this cleaned up faster, or what exactly is the priority beyond just the search and rescue?
There's a question on what's the priority beyond the search and rescue. We don't, certainly investigations are a priority. Certainly environmental considerations are a priority, and so is traffic and getting, cargo vessels in and out of the port of Baltimore. It's not the NTSB's priority. We have a number of organizations, including the Department of Transportation, Maryland Department of Transportation, the governor, that's doing a lot of work on that. But this is right now it's about people. It's about families and addressing the needs of those that were impacted. That's the focus. I don't think anybody in that room right now at the command post is thinking about what are the next steps to get things cleaned up. They're working to figure out who was impacted, if anyone was impacted, and how do we address that, because that is and should be the priority always.
Eric Rosales with EWTN News Nightly. You talked a little bit about the families, and you talked a little bit about the rescue effort that's taking place. Have we confirmed that there were any more than just the 6 construction workers that were on the bridge itself? Were there any more possible other cars, other drivers on the bridge?
So there's a lot of question is on have we been able to confirm information on the number of cars on the bridge, the number of workers on the bridge. There are a lot of numbers that we've heard back and forth. We need to verify that. The search team is doing that now. That's not for the NTSB, that is for the local authorities, Maryland State Police, and the Maryland Transportation Authority, as well as their federal partners through the Coast Guard, to be able to verify that information in
So as of
particular.
right now, there could be other victims than just the 6 that you're searching.
There are, nobody is going by a number. They are just looking and they're searching. That's what's important.
Chair, are
Yeah.
there any kind of structural protections on this bridge? Can you tell me how it's built? I've been hearing about dolphins, which are concrete, ways to stop a collapse like this. Can you tell us anything about the structure of the ones there?
Yeah, the structure of the bridge, there's some questions about the structure of the bridge, protective structure around the bridge or around the piers to make sure there isn't a collapse. We are aware of what a structure should have. Part of our investigation will be how was this bridge constructed? It will look at the structure itself. Should there be any sort of safety improvements? All that will be part of our investigation. We go very broad in our investigation.
But in this sense, had that bridge ever been flagged that needed some kind of security revision or something like that?
The question is, has the bridge ever been flagged for any sort of safety deficiency or security deficiency? That is information that we will, that will take time to dig through. I will just point to our recent investigation of the Fern Hollow bridge collapse, which took almost 2 years to get information on inspections and what was and was not done after those inspections, and whether there were records or not records maintained. That's specific to Fern Hollow Bridge, but it is very cumbersome process. It's a very meticulous process where they have to dig through a lot of information, so it will not be something that we will be able to verify while on scene.
Are you able to speak at all about the reported power outage on the ship and whether the data recorder might provide any insight into that?
The question is on the reported power failure. We've heard the reports. We've been made aware of those same reports about there being a power outage. I've also seen statements, media releases from Singapore as well. It's something that we take in, but something that we have to verify through our investigation that was what was part of the contributing cause here. So too early to tell. Yep.
Andrew here from NPR. Can you confirm if the construction workers on the bridge were employed by Bronner's buildings?
Can I confirm whether the construction workers on the bridge were employed by Bronner Builders Incorporated? That is the information we have, Bronner Builders Incorporated. Of course, sometimes they use subcontractors, so we don't have any information yet on subcontractors, but we do have information on the company itself.
Chair, have they been able to confirm who's working that night, the construction workers, like, within the 6 who are unaccounted for? Do they share any information with you guys?
Is there any information on anybody that is unaccounted for and whether they were able to verify with the company? That is something that the federal officials, the FBI, along with the Coast Guard will verify, not the NTSB.
Sure. We've gotten word that, of course, there were the construction workers, but one of the people was a state inspector. Can you share any word if you know about that? And that was the person that was rescued and taken to the hospital?
The question is about a state. I don't have information on the state inspector at this point. We are very focused on getting our investigative groups up and running. Again, let the search and rescue team do what they need to do to focus on the people, and then we are gathering information from the owner of the ship, of the vessel, and then the operator and others for this time. Again, that was my last question. For further information, And I know it's not a lot of information for the first day, but we just got here, and really the focus is on main focus. That is everyone's main focus right now. The rest can wait. So please monitor ntsb.gov and our Twitter feed for the next briefing. Thank you.
All right, so a lot from that, but I think the overarching keys that we need to hit on here before I end this stream, because we have to get ready, of course, for 19 News at 3 o'clock, is that what the NTSB will be looking at specifically is problems with the ship, why they lost power when they did, potential problems with the bridge. Could the bridge have withstood that? From experts that we are seeing, does not seem like that could have been the case, but again, it is looked through in every single aspect. In charge of the search for people related to this, that is the Coast Guard. In charge of potentially finding funding for this, the president has said multiple times that he is hoping that they will be able to get this up and running quickly, which would mean federal funding. That, of course, is in the hands of the federal government. All right, 19 News at 3 o'clock starts in about 50 seconds. We are going to end our digital stream here, and then, of course, we will have 19 News at 3 o'clock kicking off over at CBS, starting again 3 o'clock until 6:30. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson with 19 News. Have a great day and great night. We'll have much more to come, both on air and online.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.